Where do you want it to go? Who do you want to be? What do you want out of life? Mondays are for motivation, as you already know, and today I kind of wanted to present it to you in a different way, actually. What I wanted to do today is I wanted to present to you the 3 horsemen of negative thinking and ultimately the 3 factors that will slow down your progress in just about any endeavor that you try. I noticed a lot of you watch about like a minute and a half or 2 minutes of my videos. Stay as long as you can, stay as long as you want. I'm not pressuring you to watch the entirety of the video, but what I would say is what you get out of the minute, you get out of the other minutes as well. So you'd probably want to stick around. And if you've been watching my videos and you haven't hit the subscribe button, do yourself a favor, do me a favor too. Go ahead and hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And if you find this message worth something, it's valuable to you, then go ahead and share it with somebody because I'm sure they could hear it as well. Let's talk about the 3 horsemen of negativity and the 3 horsemen that ultimately bring down or slow down any sort of progress that you might be trying to attain in this world. The first one is gonna be your own mind. Now, I know a lot of people say obviously you can control your mind, and although I do agree with it, there's nothing in this world that will bring you down faster than having negative thoughts in your own mind. And typically the way these things happen is usually it's from an exterior source, an external source, right, that says something negative to you, and then you go ahead and internalize that, and then you start playing this out in your head. I'll give you a good example of this. So I remember when I was younger, when I was in high school, getting ready to go to Nassau Community College as a football walk-on, my hope was to be on the football team. And you know, I had a couple of friends that, well, I should say former friends, but had a couple of friends that, you know, like to make fun of me and things of that nature. And as a side note, it's so interesting how we like to imagine people as being positive forces in our life, excuse me. Meanwhile, the entire time, if you looked at it from, you know, the outside looking in, they were actually pieces of shit. I had a couple of friends in my life during that time where, you know, I wanted to try different things. You know, I was making music, I was skateboarding, you know, I was trying a whole host of stuff. That's what life is for. And I had a passion for football. My brother used to play football for an undisclosed school, I'm not gonna say, but he did have a scholarship, a full ride to Syracuse. Unfortunately, he blew out his knee, thus ending his football career. And I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps. So my goal was to go on to Nassau Community College as a football walk-on, and throughout my entire endeavor of just studying the game, learning the game, working with him, working with coaches, and, you know, hitting the gym, things of that nature, I always had people in my head telling me that I couldn't do it, I couldn't achieve it, and ultimately I wouldn't make it. And they were fucking right, I didn't make it. But I didn't make it because of my inability to do the thing. I didn't make it because I listened to them. And honestly speaking, I would have to say that I forgive them. It's not my fault that they felt limited in their own life, and therefore when they seen other people trying things, they themselves decided to implement or pass that on to someone else. It's not their fault, you know. These things are often cyclical. Much like the bully who makes fun of kids. Why is he bullying kids? Because at home he's probably being pestered and ultimately being bullied by, who knows, could be his father. A lot of those times when they would say something negative, instead of having or being headstrong and being able to counteract that and say, oh no, I'm doing X, Y, and Z, there's no way this can't work for me, I internalized it. I internalized that feeling, and ultimately I allowed them to make a judgment call on my life and ultimately my destiny. So the first horseman is always going to be your own mind, and the only way your own mind becomes your own worst enemy is if you allow others to influence your mind. One thing to always remember in this world is that there will always be people trying to put you down. It does not matter what you try to do in this world. It could be something as innocent as learning how to fucking plant, you know, all the way to becoming something of, you know, importance, so long as you put that importance on it. Regardless of the case, there's always going to be someone who wants to put you down, and it's ultimately your job to make sure that never happens. Much like how there's what is that parable? The parable about the boat in the water, right? And how the goal isn't necessarily to be afraid of the water, but not to allow the water to fall into the boat. Did I chop up that parable? Absolutely. If you know it in the comments, go ahead and drop it. The ultimate goal is this: to not allow external influences to sway you from your true desires. Because what you want internally, what you truly want, not something that's influenced by external sources, not something that's influenced by people out there that are telling you, oh, you should do X, Y, and Z, you should do this, you should do that. No, what do you want? And it's only and solely up to you to go after those goals and make sure it happens, regardless of circumstance. Regardless of circumstance. I don't care what happens to you. So long as you know in your heart and in your mind that you can achieve and become these things, you have no choice but to fall through and go for it and be headstrong and, dare I say, almost be arrogant. Like, if you're willing to put in the work and you're willing to learn on how to perform better, how to research better, whatever the case may be, so long as you're willing to get better and you're willing to do the work to do that, I gotta be honest with you, there's no way you can fail. I fail to see it. I'm sorry. I apply this to my own life as well. With everything that I've done in my life, the only difference from me achieving it or not achieving it is doing the research, putting in the work, and being consistent. And a little bit of faith goes a long way as well, right? So that is the first horseman, your own mind, which leads me to my second horseman, which will be external influence. Just like I said before, there will always be people in this world that are trying to put you down, regardless of what you're trying to do. It could be something, again, as innocent as learning to paint, or something that you place heavy significance on, right? However, because they see the limitations in themselves, they want to impose the limitations on you. Here's another great example of this. I come outside and I do a lot of outdoor recording. You'd be surprised at how many people oftenly, is that a word, oftenly? You'd be surprised at how many people actually come up to me and, either tell me I shouldn't be doing this, or, they don't want to be in the video. First of all, I'm not fucking recording you anyway. If your ass just happens to be in the background in the video, don't worry about it. I've got the defocus on, so you're not going to pop up regardless. But because some people might be shy or timid, they want to impose that on you. Some people might be limited in the things that they can do. They want to impose that on you, especially if you're someone who's got multiple interests and you just so happen to be pretty decent at all those interests. Oh man, the world is gonna fucking hate you. I'll give you a good example of this. When I was in, I believe it was the 8th grade. It was the 5th grade, excuse me. In the 5th grade, my nickname used to be Dictionary Boy. And if you took a look at that photo, obviously you could tell I was a rather chubby 5th grader. I had a peanut-sized head. I was a funny looking kid. I'm not gonna lie, I was a funny looking kid. I was called Dictionary Boy for a fucking reason. Because I liked to read, I liked to study, I liked to learn literature, and I liked to learn words. I still till this day, I have a college grade book based on literature, just all of the English words, and obviously there's some new words that have been invented, like Riz or whatever the case may be. But I just loved to read. I was a voracious reader. I liked reading books. I grew up with parents that always told me to read. My mom's a polyglot. She knows English, French, Creole, and Spanish. So I grew up in a multicultural house, and I just loved the information. I just loved learning. Would you be surprised, or probably not, the fact that when I got into the 6th grade with some of the kids that I was in 5th grade with, they started to bully me. And ironically enough, you know what happened there? My grades started to tank. I went from loving school, loving learning and all these things, to now hating it simply because I was surrounded by people who wanted to impose their limitations on me. And for all 3 years of junior high school, I got abused. I got made fun of. I got jumped for being a Haitian, Franco-Haitian American. I got made fun of for being smart. I got made fun of for being fat. I got made fun of for wearing clothes properly, and I didn't let my pants sag on my ass. There's a litany of things that people felt threatened by that I thought was just normal. Why wouldn't that be normal? You know what I'm saying? Like, why wouldn't that be normal for me to dress well, or dress for success, as they say, actually try and apply myself in school, and obviously as byproduct of that, have the grades that back up the work ethic that I had. However, because of that, I was a target. I was a target for a lot of people. And, consequently enough, I didn't really have a lot of friends. You know how sometimes when you graduate, like, you have your yearbook and people are signing your yearbook? I had max 5 people that signed my yearbook, and as sad as that may sound, it really isn't that sad at all, because it was right then and there where I started to realize, like, internally, I should just be more reliant on myself. Not only for the fact that I have to put in the work to achieve the goals that I want to achieve, but also because at the end of the day, there are going to be people that hate you regardless. There's some people out there that hate me regardless. Hate me regardless. I bring this up all the time because it's just a fun thing to bring up, and I think it's quite comical. But being a model who's worked for multiple brands and things like that, at some point in time, you're gonna wear something, or you're gonna be styled in something that some might be considered sus, right? Just because I wear clothes that some people might find sus, and I don't mean skirts, and even if it was a skirt, frankly, I wouldn't give a fuck anyway, because I get paid pretty good to do this stuff. Even with all things considered, no one should be upset and willing to send me death threats simply because of the clothes that I wore for a photo shoot. And this is where we are in this society. And I don't mean to make this about myself. I just use myself as an example because, truth be told, I don't meet a lot of people out there that I know have kind of went through the same things that I went through, right? Obviously, I'm just taking my life experiences and taking the time to tell you. But moreover, the most important thing that I can get at here is there will be people in your life who will tell you you can't do something. Who plays music that fucking loud? Like, I'm literally in the park, damn near 1.5 miles, 2 miles away from the street, and you could probably hear this right now. But anyway, there will be people in your life. This could be friends, this could be family, this could be coworkers. Side note, coworkers definitely don't give a fuck about you. I just have to make that known right now. And for the sake of how serious I am with what I'm about to say, I gotta take the shades off. Listen, if you think you're gonna go to a job to make friends and find people who actually support you, no, you're not. You're not. You might as well just go there, get the money, go home. Save yourself. Don't be in it for the drama or whatever the case may be. But again, at the end of the day, there will be people in your life who simply hate you for the simple fact that you are you. And you gotta be okay with that. You know, sometimes I think to myself while I'm walking around and I'm like, why do people hate me? Like, what did I do to piss you off? Like, how is it that my presence alone sets something off inside of you? Like, how could I be that triggering simply because I'm myself? And that's what I encourage you to do. I encourage you to be yourself, because at the end of the day, why would you want to be something different to fit in? When I was getting bullied in junior high, I tried the whole bullying shtick in hopes that it would get my bullies off my back, and it didn't. And on top of that, I didn't enjoy being a bully anyway. In fact, if you're watching this video and, you know, I might have had some remarks for you in like the 7th or 8th grade, I truly do want to apologize, because that wasn't me. That wasn't or isn't who I am, you know? And I think, not getting emotional, but you know, it definitely is a sensitive topic, at least to me, for an extent. And I think it was a misjudgment on my end, you know, for even wanting to placate and do something like that. It wasn't right. So again, truthfully, from the bottom of my heart, I apologize. At the end of the day in this life, you know, you have to be comfortable with being alone. You have to be comfortable with the idea that some people just aren't going to like you. And as much as that might hurt, because again, you might find this revelation from, you know, friends or family or whatever the case may be. Sometimes it's the people closest to you that betray you. And I spent a lot of time with people that I thought were my friends or were my supporters and had my best interest and, you know, wanted good things for me. And turns out they just didn't want me to be better than them. But I never seen life that way. Like, I've never looked at someone who is doing something great and said, you don't deserve it, or that shouldn't be you, or whatever the case may be. I often find these people as sources of inspiration and say, well, if they can do it, I know we bleed the same. We may not think the same, but perhaps I could garner some information from them that will further help me develop as an individual and become the person I need to be. And for horseman number 2, I say, forgive them, of course, but again, don't let the external circumstances or just external influences in general dissuade you from becoming what you're supposed to be. Listen, I don't care if you want to be the fucking best planter in the world. So I know I have nothing against farmers or planters. I'm just using that as an example. Don't be dissuaded if you want to be, you know, the best artist in the world, one of the best planters in the world, or whatever you want to do, fam, just fucking do it. Life is too short. Life is way too short, which leads me to my third thing. The third horseman that will ultimately ruin your chances or slow you down when it comes to achieving your goals is you. I know that sounds a little counterproductive. Almost sounds like it falls in line with the first one. But no, seriously, it would be you. Doubt is the ultimate killer of all things. And when it comes to doubt, sometimes we need the kind of quote unquote tangible evidence in order to continue on, right? But without faith, it will be very hard for you to do anything. You need some degree of faith in your life. And I know what you're thinking, dog, number 3 is just like number 1. What are you talking about? The difference here is when it comes to your mind being influenced by external forces, that's one thing. But once that's allowed to fester in your body, and now suddenly you allow that doubt to ruminate within you and it becomes a part of your daily practice, now you have fully taken it on. You have fully accepted what it is to be doubtful, and ultimately you begin to doubt yourself. And this is why I say the third horseman is you, simply because only you can prevent forest fires. Sorry, it was too good to not say that. But no, seriously, only you can stop yourself from achieving the goals that you want. Only you can get yourself from point A to point B in regards to goals and becoming the best version of yourself. So if you have the capacity to ignore the doubters, ignore the haters, and continue on and put in the work necessary in order to become that person you want to be, then chances are you're going to get pretty far. But if you allow the doubt, the negativity, and all those things to fester in you and ultimately become a part of who you are as an individual, I'm telling you right now, you're not gonna make it to where you wanna be. Death has been on my mind a lot lately. Not like, I'm gonna do anything, nor would I condone that. And as a side note, if you feel as though you need someone to talk to, I heavily suggest that you do. However, for myself, it's hard to not think about the ether realm or ether realm or nether realm. I don't know, whatever the word is. It's hard not to think about that when you've lost two brothers in a span of 10 years. Although it does sound sad to say, ultimately, I do believe that death can be the greatest motivator. Death can be the thing that gets you from point A to point B simply because you're worried about missing out on the time. Now, does that mean you have to go out of your way and do something sporadic and do something not well thought out, instinctual, and ends up hampering your progress? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. However, what I would say is, you don't know how long you're gonna be on this earth for, man. Just ruminate on that for a second. How do you know you're gonna wake up tomorrow? You'd be surprised at how many people actually end up passing on in their sleep and they were seemingly fine. Aneurysms can take you out very quickly, and on top of that, you may not even know you have an aneurysm until it happens. So my question to you is, how do you know you have all this time to just slack off, to just, sulk and be negative and not do anything with your life? I'm not saying that you're not doing anything with your life, but if you find yourself doing things that you don't want to do just for the sake of paying bills or whatever the case may be, I'd invite you to have a second thought about your own life and where you want it to go. Where do you want it to go? Who do you want to be? What do you want out of life? These are questions worth asking yourself because you deserve it. It doesn't matter what color you are, Obviously you guys are watching the, what's happening in politics in America, and, some people feel emboldened to become, the natural bigots as though they think they are. But I'm not one of those people, and I'd like to say that I don't see color. I truthfully do try to see character. But my question to you is, regardless of what you look like, whether you be male or female, we also know about the gender war that's been heavily psyoped throughout all of our country, or the globe in this case. But I ask you, what do you want out of life? You deserve it. Whatever it is that you want out of life, you deserve. So long as it's not hurting other people, of course, but ask yourself these things. What is it you want out of life? And if you feel like your life went wrong, be honest. Ask yourself, where did it go wrong for you? Was it because you listened to other people who didn't really achieve much in their life and they became less, and they seen you bright-eyed and full of hope and they wanted to stomp that out? What is it that you want? What is it that you forgot about? Or what is it that you forced yourself to forget about because responsibilities popped up? New life circumstances came around, and now you feel as though that hampers you from becoming who you want to be. What is it? Think about it. If it's a desire that's truthfully in your heart, do you not feel as though you deserve it? I think you do. I think before any of us pass, we all deserve to see just what we could become if we didn't listen to the doubters and the naysayers and the haters. Don't you deserve that much? I think you do. I hope you enjoyed this message today. If you find it valuable, feel free to share it with someone. Don't listen to the naysayers. Live your life the way you want to live it. And more importantly, become the best version of yourself. And I don't mean that in some weird, alpha male kind of way. I seriously mean that. Become the best version of yourself, regardless of what that looks like. Even if it doesn't meet society's standards. Does it meet your standards? That's ultimately what matters. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Once again, share it with a homie. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.